One of the toughest things about the beginning of the NBA season is evaluating certain teams because you have the idea and the mindset that it's early in the season. And I think that's a proper lens to look through when evaluating certain teams early on, especially when we're talking about 2 or 3 games into the season. But at the same time, I'm always trying to figure out that balance. It's almost like a young prospect coming into the NBA. There are so many raw strengths and weaknesses for a young prospect, and a lot of those weaknesses we look at and say, "Oh, they're young. They'll figure it out over time." And then sometimes we see a player in year 7 or year 6, no longer a young player, and they still have those flaws that we just automatically kind of justify because they were young. It's the same thing with the NBA season. We look at some of these teams and some of the things that they're struggling with early on, and we say, "Oh, it's early in the season. They'll figure it out." And then we get to game 39, 43, 46, and some of those glaring weaknesses or issues that we saw are still prominent in existing. So that's always my struggle for me. I say all that to say it's still very early in the season. We got 79 or 80 more games to play, depending on what team you're talking about. I just always want my viewers and my audience to understand we're only evaluating what we have in front of us. It's never an assassination on a team, player, or coaching staff. It's literally trying to figure out why teams are not being at the level we expect. So as you can tell by the thumbnail, the two teams we're going to talk about in today's video are the Atlanta Hawks and the Orlando Magic. We're going to start with the Hawks for a couple of different reasons. Number one, the Orlando Magic part of the video, we're actually going to involve film from Synergy. So I'm going to take a hit on the monetization side, but that's fine. I want to give y'all the best content that I can. Just know I love y'all and I appreciate y'all. So I'm gonna throw the film in there. The Hawks, we don't have film. I just want to talk about some things that I've seen and that I'm noticing in these early 3 games. And also, the other reason I didn't add film for them outside of the film making this probably an hour or so video is they've dealt with some injuries that I think really affect them more than the Magic. And I just don't want to break down them from a film perspective without two starters in Jalen Johnson and Kristaps Porzingis. Hate to see the Hawks already deal with these injuries and have an injury bug because I felt like that limited them in their ceiling last year because they really could have used Jalen Johnson for those 50 or 60 or so games that he missed. But Atlanta, through 3 games, 1-2, they had a crazy loss to the Toronto Raptors when they gave up 138 points. They didn't bounce back, went to Orlando and got a win. Very surprising because of how bad this defense is, but I think that also goes into why we're going to be talking about the Magic very shortly. And then last night they lost by 17 points to the OKC Thunder. I'm gonna be very transparent with y'all. I did not watch that Atlanta Hawks game against the Thunder live. There were other games on that I prioritized, and once I found out that Jalen Johnson was scratched from the lineup, it kind of took away my excitement of watching them. If you know me, you know I love Jalen Johnson, and he's the reason I'm tuning into Atlanta. And without him or Trey, they're just a tough watch. They're a tough watch with them, both, honestly speaking, so far to start the season. But without them, one of them, I'm just probably not going to be tuning in too much. The main thing here, when you watch, when you take a deep dive into numbers, when you watch a second and third time like I've done, they're struggling in transition. And when I say transition, I mean both sides of the basketball. This team is not scoring well in transition, and they're not defending well in transition. And transition offense and defense is a very big and instrumental, might not even be an instrumental part, but it's a very significant, source of winning. The team who can get the easiest baskets is going to win the game. And if you can't capitalize on transition when opposing teams are mismatching defense, the defense is not set, you got them on their heels. If you can't take advantage of those opportunities, how are you supposed to, win games? How are you supposed to score against a set defense if you can't score against a defense that isn't set? You can't. It's almost impossible. And if you can't get back to stop anybody, then you're going to allow opposing teams to get all of the easy baskets throughout the course of the game. And when you look at the track record here, they gave up 43 points in transition to the Toronto Raptors, while also giving up 95 points in a half court. Just virtually not able to stop anybody. And again, like I talked about in the intro of the video, that's one of those circumstances where you look at that and you say, first game of the season, like the Clippers versus the Jazz. You want to look at them, like first game of the season, we'll let that pass. But then you go and you play last night's game, and it's kind of a similar tune, a little turned down a little bit in the transition defensive side. You only gave up 24 points in transition there versus the 43, but you still gave up 93 points in a half-court offense or a half-court defense against the Thunder. Now, the Thunder are the reigning champs. They are the team that has the MVP, but it's still 93 half-court points to a team that has just, been kind of fatigued a little bit playing 4 extra quarters. They always have like an extra game that they played. They're undermanned in certain aspects as well. And then again, we're going to talk about the Magic, I swear, but you look at the Magic numbers compared to the Thunder and the Raptors, and you're like, well, what is going on over there in Orlando? But just to throw out some numbers and some details for y'all about the Atlanta Hawks and their transition offense and defense. We'll start with the defense. Right now, as of October 26th, the Atlanta Hawks are 30th in second chance opportunities for opponents, which means their opponents are averaging 23 points per game on second chance opportunities. You go against the Atlanta Hawks and you missing your shots, whether it's from the perimeter, whatever, you're going to be able to get the offensive rebound and convert on it because they just are not putting bodies on people and are allowing teams to get the second chance opportunities, which again, very strong factors in basketball game, like transition basketball. They're giving up 63 points in the paint, which is 29th in the NBA, second to last. So again, they can't guard you in transition. They're giving up offensive rebounds and second chance opportunities, and they're allowing you to walk in the paint and just do whatever you want to do. They are also giving up 21 points per game off of turnovers, which is 25th in the NBA right now. And then last but not least, they're giving up 21 fast break points per game, which is 24th. You got me reading so much, I'm stumbling over my words. So they're in the bottom half of the NBA and almost some very standard and like prominent categories defensively. When you look at defense, you're trying to look at how many threes a team is allowing, and then you're looking at transition defense, how many points in the paint they're giving up, how many second chance opportunities they're giving up, and how many points are teams scoring off of their turnovers. And they are in the bottom half of all of them. And again, when you watch them, you see it. It's evident. It's so evident. Everything is so mismatched. And one of the biggest things that is tough for them, and a lot of people talk about this, is Trae Young. Trae Young defensively. What happens in transition defense is you have a guy like Trae Young who is very – I love Trae Young, by the way. But Trae Young is very – what's the word that I'm looking for? He's he's not limited offensively, but how they utilize him offensively is limited. So Trae Young is always behind the three-point line for the most part, unless he's getting his floater off. And what that does is that makes him the first man back. He is the first man back in a lot of cases because your guard is at the top of the key, especially in the perimeter-centric game. But Trae Young is not ever going to be in a corner, so he's never going to be one of the last men coming back. And again, unless he's floating, which is typically a made shot for him. I mean, he is missing some shots around the rim in these first 3 games that I've seen. But that's usually money for him or a lob or something like that. So a lot of times he's at the perimeter, especially when he's shooting those deep threes, and he's going to be the first person back. And defense is an issue for Trae Young in ways that he can't even do anything about. I am going to hold Trae Young accountable and say in some of these 3 games, there are some effort and decision-making things that just don't make sense from him. Knowing who he is and his limitations defensively, I don't see why he does some of the things that he does. But even when you take those things away and he is engaged, giving his all, it's only so much he can do if a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is pushing the breakdown and he's, trying to match up things. You know what I'm saying? So that puts them behind an 8-ball already. But then you just see the lack of communication. I saw a lot in the OKC film that I went back and watched that I missed, and I watched a lot of the transition stuff, and OKC was just able to have their way because you got 2 guys going to 1 guy. There's this like little things that just stem from communication. And again, I find myself saying, is this just the team not being 1,000% in tune with each other? Is this coaching? Are they just not going to have, what is the source and the reasoning behind this? Because some of those OKC transition plays make no sense. Same thing with the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors scored 43 points in transition. 43 points in transition, which to me just doesn't make any sense at all. Like the Raptors scoring almost 140 points is kind of crazy. No disrespect to the Raptors. And then you look at the other side of the basketball where it's almost the same but the opposite, where in transition offense they are just not that good. They only average 13 fast break points per game, which is 23rd. They are averaging 13 points per game on second chance opportunities, which is also 23rd. So they're giving up 10 more points on the offensive glass in second chance opportunities. They give up 23 and they only score 13 for their own. Fast break points, they 8-point difference. They're giving up 21 fast break points per game, but they're only scoring 13. Points in the paint, a very big difference. And they're 16th here offensively. They score 49 points in the paint, but they give up 63. And then they score 21 points off turnovers, which is the same amount of points they give up off of turnovers. So, again, I watched a lot of their transition tape too of all 3 games, and their transition offense kind of sucks. The shot selection is bad. They result in a lot of jump shots. I don't really understand, and I actually got some of the numbers down. I'm glad I wrote this down. Hawks transition offense, and we're going to go back to the defensive part too. The Hawks are shooting 24 of 52 in transition. Again, these are easy. These are supposed to be the easier looks. Transition, you're going against a defense that isn't set. The defense is scrambling. You might have a center matched up on a point guard and a point guard matched. Like, these are the situations that a lot of teams fiend for. This is why coaches preach about defensive principles to be able to get stops and get in transition to get these easy looks, because the game is about who's going to score the more easier baskets the most. Free throws, layups, and different things like that come in transition. Even the best 3-point shots in today's game are coming from transition, because you're going down and teams are trying to protect the rim in transition to take away the easy layup. And then the corner threes, guys run out and spray, so they're shooting 46%. 46% from the field in transition. These are supposed to be easy looks. And then from 3, they're shooting 28% from 3 on transition looks, and a lot of their looks in transition happen to be threes. Like they're shooting a lot of threes. Or I don't want to say a lot, but a lot of these transition looks are 3-point shots that I feel like are, some of them are kind of head scratching. Some of them might look good. I've seen Nikhil take some, and they're just not getting the results right now. But the fact that they're shooting 46% in transition, I can't like hammer that home enough. You look at the transition defense, it's again the exact opposite. Teams are shooting 47% from 3 in transition against the Hawks. So understand that teams are shooting better from 3 in transition than the Hawks are shooting overall in transition. 47% teams are shooting in transition threes. 46% the entire Hawks team is shooting overall in transition. Teams are shooting 67% from the field in transition opportunities against the Atlanta Hawks. Almost 70%. So for every 10 shots that a team takes against the Hawks in transition, they're making 7, while the Hawks are making 4.5. How are they supposed to win games like this? You look at the half-court point. The half-court defense is not there either. OKC 90. I talked about it. 93 points in half court, 77 for the Magic, and then 95 for the Toronto Raptors. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. I was extremely excited for this team coming into the season. I had high hopes for them. Trae Young was my dark horse MVP. I love the additions. Everybody did. There was a lot of people around the league loving the moves that the Atlanta Hawks made in the offseason, and it felt like they finally put together something that was going to get them back remotely some type of close to when they went on that little run a few years ago. My years are so mixed, but when they beat the Ben Simmons debacle and they went and they lost to the Bucks or something, and tough. Extremely disappointing. The film is as bad as the numbers. I highly anticipate some type of change happening. Dyson Daniels reminds me of like some of the things that I get frustrated with Anthony Black is what I see with Dyson Daniels. Like, these are two guys who give you a lot of defensive upside, and here and there they'll make some good offensive plays because they have some intelligence and high IQ, but they're just ability and skill set offensively is sometimes hard to watch. And you'll see that with Dyson Daniels in a lot of these transition situations and just some of the half-court offense as well. And then again, Trae Young has some questionable decision making that he's making in transition as well. I think it's going to be extremely hard for them to be a great transition team offensively without Jalen Johnson. He's kind of their transition star, where when you get up and down, he can make teams pay, especially when you're talking about getting easy ones. Defensively, it's going to come down to communication. It's going to come down to somebody stepping up as a leader and saying this is unacceptable and kind of taking on that role of demanding more. But it's not a really good start right now for Atlanta, and I'm worried about the rest of what the season is going to look like. And it's not to say that, again, they're not going to make the playoffs or be some type of competent team, but the expectation was a lot higher. And for a year where Trae Young didn't get his extension and they invested a lot. The last thing Trae Young, the coaching staff, and anybody else in Atlanta needs is for that investment to not materialize into anything substantially different than what we've been getting over the last few seasons. So as I let the film roll, I think it's important for me to say I'm not associated with the Orlando Magic by any means. I don't know their scheme, the game plan, but I'm just looking as a basketball fan and basketball mind. Look, the Chicago Bulls are out here with a lineup that has Modest Buzelis, Josh Giddey, Isaac Okoro, and even Trey Jones and Vucevic are capable guys of knocking down shots. But again, no sharpshooters that are making the defense say, keep a body on him. Where you going? So the principles that I am seeing is that they're going to go under a majority of these screens, especially with Giddey and Modest Buzelis, and they're going to heavy gap up on a lot of guys, and they're going to extremely gap up off of Isaac Okoro. And what I mean by gap, for anybody that just may not know certain terminology or principles, you look at Franz Wagner at the bottom of your screen, you can't see Isaac Okoro because the screen cuts out, but you see he's 2 feet into the paint because he is that much into gap off of Isaac Okoro because he is their least lethal three-point shooter. You see Desmond Bane, he's 2 steps away from Josh Giddey there because you're not really that much of a threat, Giddey, at the logo hash and beyond the arc at all. So they're going to make sure that they take away this driving opportunity of Modest Buzelis because that's his biggest strength. Same with Giddey. You want to keep Giddey out of that paint because he has that size advantage as a point guard and he's such a great passer as far as penetration kickouts that they are trying to make sure that they limit the paint touches, which is a lot of principle in any basketball level. Offenses are looking to get 2 feet in the paint. Being able to get 2 feet in the paint is very important to break down defenses, make defenses collapse, open up three-point shots, and it's also getting you closer to the basket for the easiest shot in basketball, which is a layup or a foul opportunity to get to the paint. So just want to kind of show those principles early on from what I am seeing, and they live with this shot. Modest is my boy. He's a talented basketball player, but you live with that shot because him going downhill is more lethal than him behind the arc. Same thing here. Bulls getting in transition. This is very, very great transition defense in my opinion. You want to get back as many bodies as possible. They kind of have a wall built there. You see Jones, Carter, Paolo there. Franz already back with size to be the last man back. Remember we talked about the Atlanta Hawks? Trae Young, usually the first guy back because he's their guard. Franz is all the way back, closest to the basket, great size to be able to help, and he's already attached to Isaac Okoro, which allows him to comfortably be prepared for Buzelis to maybe drive by Tyus Jones and just allow him to see extra bodies and limit those transition looks. So now you're getting your secondary offense for the Chicago Bulls. Ball reversal. Again, Isaac Okoro in that corner. Franz Wagner, heavy gap, taking away the potential cut of Modest Buzelis because that's the most important thing right now in the Bulls offense is keeping him and Giddey away from that basket and making the Bulls result in these type of looks. Also, for me, just to give y'all added context, I'm a guy that watches everything. I watch the 10 players on the floor. I watch the referees. I watch the coach's body language. I watch the bench. Look at the Orlando Magic. There's nobody that's like, hey, Franz, there's Isaac Okoro. Hey, Rota. There's nobody's body language is like, oh, my gosh, we're leaving Okoro, which, again, makes me feel like this is the things that were emphasized. Usually if somebody's left alone, you see some coach or the bench or somebody saying something. They are fully comfortable with Franz being in this position to heavily show on the cut or the potential drive of Buzelis, Giddey. And he's fully comfortable with being in this position of running out to Isaac Okoro because this is what we know Isaac Okoro is. He's a not great outside shooter, and the Magic want to take full advantage of that. Here's a good look from Kevin Huerter, who didn't make a three last night. He has to step up and make shots. I still didn't like some of the coverages that they had on Huerter. I felt like he had some really good looks that he just didn't take advantage of. But still, I think you have to not be result-driven and understand your bottom line and principles. A possession that I put in here, not because it's the biggest thing in the world, but I think great defenses and good defenses are backed on communication. And this is a situation where I just feel like is inexcusable with Paolo and Franz, the two leaders of the team. How does this happen? I'm really looking at Franz because I don't know what he was doing. He kind of just dropped off of Giddey for nothing. And you see when Giddey makes a shot, body language. Paolo kind of puts his hand out like, watch, here we go. What are you doing? Because nothing about this made sense. He didn't use a screen. The guy pushed you, and then you just dropped. Like, They didn't communicate at all. There's no way that they said, hey, switch, got it, dropping. There's nothing at all communicated there. Giddey is able to walk into a three. Not the biggest thing, but for me, I'm looking at those finite details because those are what leads to good and great defenses, especially when we get down the line in the season. Great shot from Josh Giddey. I love his aggressiveness last night with the 3-point looks. The more he's able to show teams that he's willing to take it and make it, will go a long way for the Chicago Bulls. We get here, ball reversal, back into the pick and roll. Again, not the biggest things, but I'm showing y'all this stuff early on. It's the first quarter because things are going to pay out down the line for the Bulls in the fourth quarter. Bottom line principles and different things. And it's these little things that are detailed oriented. So you go under. I feel like this is a great screen navigation from Anthony Black, who is one of their better defenders, especially against a guy like Josh Giddey, who has the size over most guards. No Jalen Suggs tonight. He's back into the play. Him and Wendell played this perfectly. I thought Paolo was in good position for the role, potentially, if Wendell had to slide over a little bit more. Jet Howard, I think, is in great position, and I think Tristan Da Silva is in good position right here. I think this is great. It's the last part of the play. Paolo continues to come over all the way when I don't think he needs to. I'll live with Anthony Black on Josh Giddey like this. And again, with the size and length that Anthony Black has, Josh Giddey is just going to have to make a good finish. Like, Anthony Black is there. He's fully recovered. This is going to be a contested layup. It could even be a foul. But I trust Anthony Black with his size to heavily contest that. And you give a great look to a really good shooter in the corner. And again, this just wasn't the night for Kevin Huerter. This is a shot he can make. I'm pretty sure if Kevin Huerter is in practice, he's probably made 50 of these in a row before he saw a miss. Just didn't have it that night. But again, bailed out by the miss. But later on, we'll see why that is very important to not have that. The help is a little too aggressive, and you have to KYP, know your personnel. The Chicago Bulls, just as great as they started the season, I don't think that they should be making you drop that much. They don't have a player that's just that dynamic right now. We get into the secondary offense, ball reversal. Go under. You can tell the principal is Isaac Okoro, so we're heavily under. And we're going to go under again to the point where we even switched out. Good defense so far. Denies the screen. Anthony Black stunts and recovers. Franz gets out. I just don't understand why this wasn't what we saw all night from the Magic. To me, I added this clip in here to show the example of what the great defensive possessions look like. This is how, to me, you guard the Chicago Bulls, who, again, have played solid and they're good and they have some depth and whatnot, but they're just not dynamic. They're just a solid, good team. Take away everything, boom, take away the cut. We're going under on Okoro. We can switch that. We both got the positional size. Ball reversal. Good defense from Tristan Da Silva, not doing too much. Denied the screen. You're still there. Anthony Black, there's no need to heavy gap this because Tristan Da Silva is there. Kind of like what I said the other possession when Paolo kind of went too much into the help. Anthony Black's like, hey, he's there, so all I got to do is stunt this. That one stunt made Josh Giddey adjust his entire drive to the basket. Patrick Williams is there for the catch, but even Anthony Black is between ball and man. I love intelligent basketball players who are in help right there because you can guard two players, and Anthony Black essentially does that. The catch wasn't there for Patrick Williams, and Franz is there, and you get a bullshit shot. Perfect defensive possession against the Chicago Bulls, in my opinion, and something that I thought we would kind of see more of throughout the course of this game. So here it is. We're getting in the second half now. Bulls have an 8-point lead. Plenty of time left. Magic are not out of this game at all. This is one of the plays, again, where I just think communication is important. Personnel-wise, I don't understand why they did everything that they did. Great extra passing. That's a great look for Kevin Huerter. Just not knocking down the shots, man. Just not knocking down the shots. To start the play, though, you have Tristan Da Silva on the ball with Josh Giddey. You have Anthony Black on Kevin Huerter, and you have Wendell on Vucevic. This is like a Spain pick and roll. He's going to set one on ball. Kevin Huerter setting the backside so Vucevic can potentially have a clear lane. Vucevic doesn't even use it, really. He just pops out. Right here, Why do extra work when we don't have to? You're in such great coverage that De Silva ends up getting screened, but Josh Giddey is just going into Wendell Carter and Anthony Black. Right here, we're switching. There's no need for Tristan De Silva to follow Giddey because he could just switch with Anthony Black. Anthony Black just absorbs this drive, which is going to make Giddey throw it out here. You can peel back to Vooch, who isn't rolling, and then he can just go right back to Kevin Huerter. Just more simpler. But they're all chasing to the point where this is Paolo, Anthony Black, Wendell Carter, Tristan De Silva. 4 bodies going at Josh Giddey. Kick out. Why this isn't a shot, I don't know. Patrick Williams is a little passive. He had a really good game. He should have shot this one. Ball reversal. To me, this is a shot as well. But Vooch already says I'm going to pass it. I can't remember what he was shooting like at this point of the game. And then this is a great pass. This is good basketball. This is a great look for a typically great shooter who just didn't have a good night. But I just don't, I feel like this all could have been prevented if everybody was more comfortable with our communication. Everybody's scrambling for what? Why is Tristan De Silva following when you have these two here? You have your big and you have your big guard there ready. You just peel back. 4 bodies on a Josh Giddey drive like he's Ja Morant or something. And then the ball reversal, and now everybody's scrambling. The scramble would not have been needed. Luckily, again, you get bailed out because Kevin Huerter is just not locked in right now as far as his perimeter shot. This night he wasn't locked in, but I didn't like it. You come back into the game. Now you're down 3 at the start of the fourth quarter. Jace Richardson minutes last night was really good to see. Ball reversal from the Bulls. We get into it. Trey Jones, screen. Why? Why, Desmond Bane? I thought the Rook did solid here. And again, it's Trey Jones. It's not Ja Morant. It's not a dynamic like driver. Boom. I thought the Rook was holding his own. The big fella kind of was there for us for a while. This might have been a lay. But I'll leave. Because, look, Jace recovered well. He was going to contest that. So I'm going to live and see what this is going to be. But more aggressive. This help reminds me of the help we saw from Paolo in the first half. And it leads to a wide open 3 for Ayo. Now it gives them a 6-point game. That's the same 3-point shot they were giving up in the first half that Kevin Huerter was missing. Ayo is making it now. So there's one. Somebody tell me again, Desmond Bane. Why the fuck is Kevin Huerter demanding this much attention as a roller? Look at the amount of attention Desmond Bane gives Kevin Huerter as a roller. And again, Anthony Black is relatively there. First and foremost, if you're using Kevin Huerter as a screener and he's rolling, I kind of don't give a fuck. I'm cool with this. Anthony Black is back in the play. I'm cool. This is not even a shot I think Kevin Huerter wants. I think this is just a part of the play. It didn't go their way, and now it's forcing him to roll. Anthony Black is there, though. Bane drops all the way down on a roll from Kevin Huerter, and Ayo, who just made one, makes another one. And now it's a 10-point game. These are just too aggressive in the help, in my opinion. Too aggressive. Now the Bulls are running the same thing over and over. If y'all can't communicate and guard it properly, we get the switch on Vucevic. Look at all of the help. I think they're in perfect position here. I don't know where Franz thinks Ayo is, but this looks like they're in great position until the pass is delivered, and Franz is in the air looking at the ball. Like, where is he? And he gets a shot off, and Ayo steps up. This is 3 big threes. I just don't understand some of the... Trey Jones, great game and great play recognition. Trey Jones realizes Wendell Carter is on me. He's telling Patrick Williams, come get the ball. Vucevic, slide your ass down. Get him that basketball. This is a mismatch, and look how the Magic panic. I'm kind of fine with living right here. And I'm kind of cool with Franz getting out there. But Franz, again, I don't know where he thinks Ayo is. He's kind of just not even ready to. I don't know. This is a guy that just made 2 threes in both corners. urgency to get out there was kind of like whatever. He was running out like he was guarding Isaac Okoro. And you're losing. At this point, you're losing. So didn't understand that at all from the Orlando Magic. That was the last defensive clip. I also want to go and pull up some of these offensive clips to wrap this video up. I can't even remember what these offensive clips are, but I know a lot of them were not that well. To me, this is a good shot from Anthony Black. But again, when I look at the Orlando Magic, and it's early on, and you want him to be confident, but you're paying big money, $287 million to him, $200-some million to him, and now the other dude that we can't even see with these pink shoes, he makes like $30 million. Why the fuck is the offense ever going to result in this? It's not a bad shot, but like I just kind of want the ball to be in the hands of one of those three high-paid guys. Good things should be happening when Bane, like, do this same play, but let it be Bane. Bane took 2 threes last night. I don't know. I just feel like that's what the Bulls want. Even them, look at their defensive game plan. We're going under these screens, and we're damn sure going under on Anthony Black. Look, they cool. Somebody on the Orlando Magic has to know that that's what opposing teams are going to pray for. Anthony Black. And then this is what makes a lot of people on Twitter and social media like kind of frustrated with Paolo. I do think they can be a little extra because Paolo is a really good player. They go and say like he's horrible and not good at all. That's the shit where I'm like, I don't see. But I get some of the frustrations and some of the criticism because this is what the Orlando Magic offense is. That's just not going to lead you anywhere, especially when we start talking about playoff basketball. And the more you advance, the more OKC Thunder type of defenses you play. The Boston Celtics from a couple years ago defenses you'll play. Defenses is going to go up. And again, this is a shot that most defenses are going to live with. As good as Paolo is, this is just not a high percentage shot, and it's difficult as well. This is a difficult shot to be taken and to rely on, but this is what their offense looks like majority of the time. That's why people were excited to get Desmond Bane because you get less of those looks. But it has not been that way in this game against, again, the Bulls. He can make this shot. I've seen him make this shot a bunch of times, but the Bulls are living. Look at Patrick Williams' urgency. Like, he's just like, okay. The Bulls are not projected to be a great team. So if the Bulls are able to do this, what are the Cavaliers going to look like against you, or the Knicks, or whoever else we're projecting to be really good? And look, Paolo is out the game, and now guess what? It's Franz's turn. He can make that shot. He's a really good driver. He can make that shot. He's going to make that shot, I'm sure, a bunch of times throughout the course of this game. But I just think that those are possessions that teams are willing to live with. Honestly. Great defensive play from Jet Howard. Pushing here in transition. Franz, I was disappointed in this because Franz clearly had something in mind. He organized the entire offense, gave up the ball and everything, and they went and organized this to end the quarter. And this is where some of my frustration with Anthony Black comes at. Like, what the fuck is this? Again, like, let's just walk through this a little bit. They get a stop, closing out the quarter, have a 1-point lead. Franz Wagner, one of your best players, has a basketball. He could just dribble down and say, I'm going to just get our last shot. Nah. He says, come get it. Let's organize and set this up. Get you the ball. I'm going to go over here and move out the way. We're going to set up this action. And you do all of this organizing and all of this time to get this, whatever they're trying to get. And it materializes into a turnover. Because I don't know what Anthony Black is doing right here. Where is he going? Like that pass should have been made because I don't know where he's going, to either Goga or De Silva. I just don't understand what that was supposed to be at all. And you see a lot of plays like that from Anthony Black. He's just kind of unsure of himself offensively. That's what I've written in my notes. Very unsure of himself. Paolo back in, pick and roll. It's just he's going to complain for the foul, but I don't know. It's not like a play it's impossible for him to score out of, but they have to figure out ways to just get easier looks. All of these looks are like difficult. He's spinning. He's split spinning between a 6'11", 7-foot guy and Patrick Williams, who's physically imposing. Like, we can joke about how much Patrick Williams struggles or, hasn't really taken a leap or been a good, consistent player for the Bulls. But physically, he's going to be there. He's been there since day one. He has Kawhi Leonard hands, strong body. This is very tough. And he got two hands on the basketball, and this is a spinning between two people, fadeaway, float jump shot that is just, I don't know, man. I don't know. This is their offense, though. This is not a one-off play. This is the offense. And then we're going to get to game 15 and say, man, they're not shooting enough threes. But it's just like, I'm as great as a player as Paolo is and as talented as he is, you live with that. And this is that same shot where, hey, he stepped up and made it. Credit to Anthony Black. You love to see him step up and make the jump shot. But again, this is a shot that I think the Bulls are more than willing to live with, like any other team around the association. What we got next, second half. Again, Anthony Black with the three high-paid guys, and the ball is in his hands to initiate some of the stuff, where I wish it was kind of like Paolo, Franz, or Bang. You want Bane to get in here for 3-point shots. And I put a tweet that said this. I'm going to put it up here. And a guy responded with this. I'm going to add it over here somewhere on the screen. I think we think too deep with basketball, because what is this guy talking about? Guys have to stop taking things and make it so one-off. Me saying that I want Franz and Paolo to create plays, and I see that's Tristan Da Silva, not even Franz. It doesn't mean it has to be that way every time, or Desmond Bane is just doing this for the entirety of the game. But this is not what I envision them going. And I don't think that Desmond Bane has to just be the only one that controls the basketball, because look at the principle. They were going under everything. They're going over Bane. Run him off the 3-point line because he's the only 3-point threat. And now look at the shot he's taking. This is some bullshit. This is just another version of Franz and Paolo and what they do. You just live with this shit. And even what he's about to do. Look, the Bulls are just okay, take away that drive. We live with that Wendell shit. Go under. They gapped up. What is Anthony Black doing? It's kind of like that possession to end the first quarter, where I just don't know where he's going. He's not thinking the game through. He's just kind of going. He's going. He knows he don't want to go to this rim. He knows he don't. But he's going to, where are you going? What the fuck was that? And that's why I'd like to see the Jace Richardson minutes, because I think pretty soon Mosley is going to feel his back against the wall. And you're not, Anthony Black is going to have to, I don't know. But I know it's tough because you want to play Anthony Black for the defensive tools. You kind of can't put him in a corner, because then people are going to treat him kind of Isaac Okoro-ish. So you want to try to use him as a jumbo playmaker. But he doesn't drive. He's not a mid-range threat. Even with the mentality, what is he doing? What the fuck was that? I don't know. I don't know. Desmond Bane throws it back to Paolo. Ball reversal here. You get Anthony Black screening down to try to get Paolo on Kevin Huerter. Bulls ain't going for it because why? Because they don't respect Anthony Black's jump shot. So all three of those Bulls made sure that Kevin Huerter was not going to be on Paolo Banchero. Good idea. It's not going to work with the screener being Anthony Black. Why not make the screener Desmond Bane? Because if three bodies go to prevent that switch from happening, Desmond Bane now has an open three ball that we prefer. That may put a little bit more fear in the Bulls, to where maybe Paolo gets the switch because you can't ignore Desmond Bane for as much as they just ignored it. Look, let's reverse this. If this is Desmond Bane, look, Kevin Huerter is dropping just in case he has to switch, because you're not going to leave Paolo. Vucevic drops because, again, you want to take this away, bump this up. This is a veteran move. You bump that up a bit. And then Patrick Williams completely ignores Anthony Black, regardless of what is happening with Kevin Huerter, because he don't want the switch to happen. And then, look, this could be Desmond Bane rolling up a little bit more off of. Desmond Bane would have probably came off of Wendell Carter too, Anthony Black didn't really utilize the screen at all because he's not a shooter in any way, shape, or form to even curl or come up to kind of position the screen to have an open shot. Desmond Bane would have been able to make the read as a shooter who does the shooting, and he would have made use of this Wendell Carter screen to have a more open look. But look how far he's catching the basketball as well. And then it goes into a shot that I just, my fucking goodness, y'all. Holy shit. This is just not a shot I'm tuning in. I paid to watch this game. I have to pay the Chicago Sports Network to watch the Chicago Bulls $20-something a month. I'm not paying to watch this jump shot right here from Anthony Black. It's just not, man. Not when I have Franz, Paolo, and Bane on the court. What did Franz do this whole possession? This whole possession, Franz just sat in the fucking corner. We're paying him $200 million. I mean, some possessions you're going to have, but we're paying him $200 million for Anthony Black mid-range. Like, look at Franz's whole possession. It's just not it, y'all. It's just not it, man. Something got to be figured out. Something got to be figured out and figured out fast. Fourth quarter, still approachable to win this game. Screen from Bane. Doesn't really result in shit. I don't even know what they doing here. Now you get into your secondary offense. Wendell Carter, Anthony Black trying to set the double screen. Anthony Black doesn't touch a fucking body, I don't think. Let's see. Does Anthony Black touch anybody? Barely touches Ayo. Ayo goes above Wendell Carter, runs Bane out into a screen that Patrick Williams isn't fazed by. Wendell doesn't even touch him. Maybe a ghost screen. And then Paolo has to take that shot. And it's another possession where Franz Wagner just sat in the corner. Look at Josh Giddey. He's right there on the nail. Literally. Boom. Foot is like a centimeter off of the nail because Anthony Black is just not a threat right there. It's the Chicago Bulls, ladies and gentlemen. It ain't the Thunder. It ain't one of the top defenses in the league. It's the Chicago Bulls. Credit to them. They play really well. But if you're struggling with these possessions offensively and defensively, it's going to be a long season. I appreciate y'all. This is a long video, a lot of film. So I'm going to just exit out of here with a real quick intro. I appreciate y'all. Give me the feedback. Did y'all like this type of content? Did y'all not? I can't promise it on a video by video basis, but I think it was dope and interesting. Again, Magic fan, 3 games into the season. Atlanta Hawk fans, 3 games into the season. But it's worth noticing and talking about. I love y'all. I'll see y'all next time. I'm out. Peace.